When Ryan's when it's time to begin, it's on the Rewind-A-Raw with John Pollock and Wai Ting. The A-Team that makes sense of these things we see in the ring every week on TV. It's Rewind-A-Raw for Monday night. Download it Tuesday morning from the Post Wrestling site. It's Rewind-A-Raw for Monday night on USA Now on the John and Wai Take the mic.
He is Wai Ting, and that makes me John Pollock. And here we are, live to talk about Raw from Monday night, kicking off the month of March for all you Pisces out there. And what does that mean, Wai? On the Post Wrestling Café, what a menu we have in store for everybody. So sit back, folks, and look at this. Look at what we are bringing. What other site can cull together such unique events that tie in AWA Super Sunday with Insurrection 2002 mixed in with a little Daredevil Born Again Season 2. All of that coming your way this month at postwrestlingcafe.com. It all begins this Thursday with Rewind-A-Dynamite. We enter the 200s, episode 201, Insurrection 2002, as the Raw branded UK pay-per-view brings you Triple H versus The Undertaker, Steve Austin versus Big Show, and Brock Lesnar and Shawn Stasiak versus the Hardys.
Very, like what? Like Brock was probably a month or 2 months into his
Not even 2 months.
Yeah.
This is like 6 weeks after his call up. He is green as grass at this point in time. Yeah, but what really overshadows this whole event is the plane ride from hell, which is the plane ride home afterwards. And within 48 hours or so, Kurt Hennig is done, Scott Hall is done, and quite frankly, just revisiting the notes and such, you could have made a much longer list of people that probably could and should have been fired in relation to that. So we will talk a little bit about the plane ride from hell and actually go through this show that was part of the European tour, but I don't think anyone really remembers Insurrection 2002 as opposed to the fallout from the trip.
Yeah, and again, a show that is available on Netflix, and I believe it's actually available on American Netflix as well.
Okay.
So yeah, do check that out if you have access to it. And then John and I will be back next week in that slot for an edition of Talk.
That is right. It's been several months since Wai and I have sat down just to talk, where we go through our lives, our kids screaming at us, and what other challenges are coming our way. It's our way to avoid having to pay for therapy and instead using one another for such a device.
I recommend it. Yes, it's an effective form of therapy. Just broadcast your innermost thoughts to a wide audience.
That's right. That is going to be coming up later this month. Two Rewind-A-Ways this month. Our other chapter will be 1983, AWA's Super Sunday. That did not feature any dangerous plane rides. Instead, Hulk Hogan challenging Nick Bockwinkel for the AWA Championship. Vern Gagne back in the ring, teaming up with Mad Dog Vachon and Jesse Ventura on this card, Jerry Lawler on this card. This was a fairly big show in 1983. AWA was pretty hot at this point. This is about 7-8 months before Hogan goes to the WWF, and we'll be diving into AWA. I'm pretty sure this is our first AWA review that we have done.
Maybe under Rewind-A-Dynamite. Yeah.
Yes, under Rewind-A-Dynamite. So yeah, that is coming up this month. And as we mentioned, Rich and WH will start covering Daredevil Born Again Season 2 that premieres at the end of the month. We'll have coverage of UFC 326 this Sunday with myself and Eric Marcotte. TNA Sacrifice, we will do a review of that, plus the New Japan Cup Finals. And Book Club covers Beyond Nitro by Guy Evans, looking at not just the fallout of WCW, which is apropos. This month is 25 years since WCW went out of business. Goes through a lot of the financials of WCW, and as well TNA during the Spike TV years from 2005 to 14. So that is what Neil Flanagan and I are tackling this month. All of this can be yours. Sign up at postwrestlingcafe.com. If you have never subscribed before, you can jump on for a 7-day free trial. Get a sample of things. It's like going on a blind date, and then maybe you want to come back for dinner.
It's sort of like the phone call before going out on the date.
Yeah, a 1 week phone call.
No committal. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
No commitment, no expectations. But there you have it, everybody. And then we move on to Raw. Indianapolis, Indiana, the Gainbridge Fieldhouse. And we are coming off of Elimination Chamber on Saturday night. And 9,049 was the number of tickets distributed by WrestleTix. This was the last show they ran here was WrestlePalooza, which did 14,242. So a far cry from a sellout, but 9,000 still for this show. The Vision are the first ones out, whatever is left of the Vision, which are eliminating each by the numbers on a weekly basis. And they want to address Seth Rollins, who Heyman claims stole credit for co-founding the Vision, who stole credit for co-founding the Shield, and he stole the main event of WrestleMania from Logan Paul. He calls him Mr. Lynch, and the next time Seth is in this ring, they're going to stomp his ass out, and that is a personal guarantee. So Theory tries to cut a promo. The crowd chants, "You suck," and Theory responds, hey, wait, Seth Rollins isn't here, so you can't chant that.
His new thing also seems to be
Pressure.
No, he says, "Here's my theory." At the beginning of the promo.
But did you hear him during his match? He's now being called the Pressure. So he yells at Jimmy Uso, "I'm the Pressure," and then you could just hear him after. He's like, "Pressure." It's like, okay, we got it.
He's trying a lot,
He's trying a lot of stuff. I don't know if anything is sticking right now, but he is certainly throwing a lot at the wall.
Crowd certainly hates him. I would say like maybe a saving grace for him might be some sort of Wheeler Yuta appeal where like he sucks so much that the audience like just latches onto that.
What if they shaved his head?
Right.
For heat.
But the crowd at this point does not take him seriously. That's not to say he can't in the future. Again, like there have been guys who have been able to make something like this work, but it'll probably take a big adjustment.
He's deep in the Shawn Michaels in the Rockers phase at the moment. So Paul states that, or Logan Paul's promo is that he won't leave until Seth comes out. Adam Pearce is out, accuses them of injuring Jey Uso, which Paul Heyman denies. And Pearce says that Rollins is not medically cleared. He needs to meet with Rollins himself. And then we get one masked man after another. The first one comes out and gets chased away by security. Then another one gets chased by Logan Paul. Then a third one removes Austin Theory. So Heyman is left alone in the ring when a fourth masked man walks down the aisle, and then a fifth one appears from behind Heyman, revealed to be Seth, who nails Heyman with a chair shot and stomp and takes out Heyman, which they later noted this was the same building where Rollins turned on the Shield with the chair shot from behind as well. And so tying all that together. And yes, we got a bloody, he got his face stomped in. So it was a bloody Paul Heyman who was taken to the back and presumably off for some time before he comes seeking revenge on Seth.
Mm-hmm. I was definitely skeptical about Rollins being the reveal because I felt it was almost too obvious. But I think all of this decoy stuff that they've done has turned out to be really compelling. And I've enjoyed all the interactions leading up to this big spot here with the stomp, including like the callback to the Shield chair shot, which for Rollins always works. He must have done that 6 times by now, but each time I think it's very meaningful. And Rollins comes out of all of this feeling like a very hot, like Sting-like type of baby face where he just comes out, does this, hasn't spoken yet, and I would keep that mystique about him as long as possible because I think this is a very compelling baby face Seth Rollins who feels like he's in the spotlight in a way that I would even say like is bigger than, in my opinion, what came out of the fake leg injury or whatever from earlier this summer. So I think they've landed the plane pretty well with him.
Yes, and I think like this sets up probably Heyman coming back, and whenever that is, I feel we're not going to get the WrestleMania direction until Heyman's back and Heyman names the opponent or something. So that could be several weeks depending on how long Heyman sells this. But he's taken to the back and put into an ambulance, and Theory and Logan are freaking out. They go to get into a car when Jimmy Uso pulls up and attacks both Theory and Logan Paul. And then Jimmy walks over to the ambulance. LA Knight is driving the ambulance and just drives off with Heyman. And the announcers don't make a big deal out of this. We never hear about this again. The man has just commandeered an ambulance and taken Paul Heyman, I guess, to the desert like Darby Allin went.
Well, maybe he took him to the actual hospital, perhaps.
Oh, okay. Maybe maybe
he's like, I'm a faster driver. All right, let me take him.
Maybe he was auditioning for the Pit, LA Knight.
Maybe.
So, yeah, this is just, sure. Why not?
Well, I mean, listen, it gives something for Jey Uso and LA Knight, who, kind of feel like they're somewhat forgotten about in the midst of all of this stuff. But
that is
obviously, sorry, I meant to say Jimmy, and we'll see Jimmy and Jay's direction a little bit later on in the show. I imagine this leads to LA Knight versus maybe Logan Paul or maybe Austin Theory, perhaps coming out of this as well.
Like for TV?
Perhaps, yeah.
Yeah. He's obviously, they're going to keep him attached here to the Vision in some form or fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Gunther against Dragon Lee is our first match, and Gunther makes his way to the ring and gets jumped by Dragon Lee on the way to the ring, and they fight towards the ringside area, and then Dragon Lee takes this insane back body drop into the timekeeper's area. His back was all marked up from this, and we come back from break. Gunther has taken over, and he hits Dragon Lee with the hardest lariat you have seen in WWE. There's a Hurricane Rana counter by Lee, and he tries to, Gunther goes for the choke on the edge of the apron, but Lee avoids it, and Gunther misses a boot in the corner. They start trading chops. Lee just has all this fire in his offense. He goes for Operation Dragon and is caught into a version of the Emerald Frozen, and Corey Graves does cite Misawa here. I'm surprised Michael Cole didn't list off some of his favorites.
I believe he needs the research given to him in advance, so I don't imagine he.
No, I'm sure he had plenty of stats off the top of his head about Misawa. So
Cole just thought it was so obvious that he didn't need to point it out.
Well, duh, Corey. Yeah. Gunther just kills him with a pair of power bombs, but lifts him up at the count of 2, hits him with an apron bomb, and then drops him on the desk with a 4th power bomb. The announcers are telling the referee to just end the match, and Gunther goes down, or goes for another power bomb, and Lee counters it, hits a suicide dive, and an Operation Dragon on the floor, which Gunther just beats the count at 9. He goes for one more Operation Dragon and is caught in the sleeper. And as he takes Dragon Lee down to the ground, rips off his mask, and Dragon Lee immediately submits at 14 minutes and 22 seconds. I thought this was one of the best WWE TV matches I have seen in ages. This match was awesome. This was easily better than anything on Elimination Chamber, in my opinion. I just thought this match was amazing.
It was fantastic. Yeah, as I think you would expect out of Gunther, certainly. What I didn't expect was how much they gave Dragon Lee and how much
they gave him so much. I love the finish, the teases they did. Both of them doing the count out teases. I mean, this was easily the best Dragon Lee has. In terms of an importance that was attached to his character, I thought he lost nothing from losing here. They made him look really, really competitive with Gunther.
They took, I think, what a lot of us were expecting to be just a simple squash. Or to me, I didn't even think they'd do the match. I thought, Gunther, the angle was it for Dragon Lee. But they turned this into a several weeks long story of Dragon Lee actually getting one up on Gunther several times, leading to a match where he was very competitive, almost beating him, so quite a bit. And coming out of it, does Gunther lose anything? No. He more than got his heat back with the way he held onto this choke. And I love the finish as well. I think taking the mask off, outside of just the insult, to somebody, it's strategic in that it completely gets somebody off their guard and they are not able to defend as well as they probably would be able to because they're worried about their mask. I do think maybe it's worth mentioning that it is somewhat unfortunate that, you take a big risk in doing these spots and making sure that you cover your face. And unfortunately, he didn't really get his hands all the way there. And so, that image is out there, but it's the risk that people take. And ultimately, and now that he's in the WWE, is it is it that much of a loss? I don't know, but it is a notable part about all this. But it shouldn't take anything away from the match itself, which was tremendous.
He's gonna get doxxed now.
I wonder who his family is.
Yeah. Yeah, and doing the mask thing, it could also, like, if you think it like does set up something with Ray potentially, like you could do something like coming out of this, or this was as long as they were going to go with this, because they really haven't tied Ray to any of this story either. So, but I love this match. I just thought it was excellent. To me, it was the highlight of Raw. Kabuki Warriors are backstage. Asuka's all pissed about the chamber loss, and Kairi just looking so meek and says, "Last week you said I did good." And Asuka just is like swatting her, pushes her around, and takes back the compliment. And AJ Lee walks in and just stares at Kairi, who's all frozen, and just says, "Blink twice if you need any help." I was like, okay. I was enjoying this scene, and then we just went for some laughs here. So that was that.
I wonder if this, like, with this Kairi Asuka stuff is coming to a head at all, or if it's just, something that we are just assuming is going to be the status quo for quite some time. But in this particular scene, I felt like they were trying to elicit a bit more sympathy for Kairi than usual. So we'll see if that might lead to anything for Mania between the two of them.
Yeah, I mean, Kairi's standing up for herself. Like, that will get a big reaction for how long they've had her as the, subservient to Asuka. It's always an angle you can go with. I really like these two together. I would hate to see them. I think they're stronger together than apart, but
agreed.
There does come a time maybe when they want to pull the trigger there. AJ comes out, and she wasn't sure she could still go, but the fans knew she could, and they remembered me when others wanted them to forget. She calls Becky the best of the best and beat her. So she proved she was still championship material, and she's going to be a fighting champion, and she issues an open challenge for anyone in the locker room. Later, we will see all the women jockeying for this title shot, and we're going to get a gauntlet match next week to determine who her first challenger will be, as this title remains the top women's title on Raw.
I guess the other one's already spoken for, and so it doesn't, like just getting a bunch of lame duck challengers for Stephanie. Yeah. So, I mean, you can argue it's a good thing that they have a secondary title for that reason. And you could have argued that, Becky holding it for the better part of like the past year has already made this title the A title in many ways.
I feel they have. I feel this is the big women's title.
I think AJ, to me, like, we continue to hear what she has to offer on the microphone, and I do feel like she's still lacking a real confidence in her promo voice. And to me, like, she's saying these words like, like she's supposed to be confident, but I just don't buy that confidence in there right now. And I just don't really sense the authenticity. Instead, it just kind of feels like she's reading something somebody else wrote for her that's supposed to sound confident. So it's probably one of those things that'll just come with reps. She really has not been doing this for 10 years. And I know there are probably a lot of self-doubts that are within her that I do think come across in the performance. So I mean, I wouldn't even shy away against that. I think what makes the character interesting might be the vulnerability. So I would hope to see something maybe more real to how she actually presents the next time she speaks.
They show a segment from earlier today where Chad Gable approaches Penta and says that he wants the first IC title shot when Penta wins. And Penta basically agrees to this. And then Los Americanos confront Gable and ask how long he's going to keep up this charade. And they manage to squeak in a promo for Rey de Reyes here on March 14th. And Gable doesn't have to wait until then. He will face either Rayo or Bravo tonight, and he is going to speak with Adam Pearce. And that is the match we were going to get later with Rayo and Gable. There's a video with Liv Morgan addressing Stephanie Vaquer. Stephanie doesn't know about Liv's struggles or making it to where she's at. She says, "Yes, I am privileged. I was signed at 20 while you were turned down. I'm a star, and I don't dwell on my past like you seem to. And Vaquer, you're a great champion, and I'm going to give you the privilege of facing me at WrestleMania, and you're going to learn everything you need to know."
Yeah, So maybe drawing some contrast to what I was just saying about AJ. Liv, on the other hand, like sounds like somebody who has been through this and has never stopped and is only gaining more and more confidence in her voice over these past several months in years, you could say. She really sounds like, I think, somebody who's worthy of this main event level spotlight right now, and I thought this promo showed it really well. I've been really impressed in how, like, despite Vakir's limitations with the language, they've done such a great job at turning this into a program that feels personal and like fully fleshed out. You know, there's a personal grudge between these two, and that one thinks the other has had this handed to them. And Liv, you know, like she's owning it here. She feels like she deserves this because she's that good. So I think it's been a great feud so far. And tonight they didn't even have to rely on Dom.
She should have said, "You think you've had hardships? I was called up to this main roster in something called the Riotata Squad with 2 T's.
Yeah.
We used to mess up locker rooms. Okay, that's all we had.
She used to have a blue tongue.
I used to have a blue tongue. Yes." So she had to overcome stuff too. Original El Grande Americano against Rayo. They went 10 minutes here. These are just painful sometimes. Like Michael Cole this man has never watched any AAA, but they've got to work in like these miniature, like organic conversations. So he's like, Corey, explain Rey de Reyes to me. And so Corey Graves has to explain all of it to him. He's also calling a match where, again, Gable is like this despicable heel in AAA. Mm-hmm. And then here in WWE, it's like he's working this kind of as the heel, but he is positioned as the babyface in this whole thing.
He's totally supposed to be the babyface here. He had like a friendly interaction with Penta in the back. Like everything about this is supposed to let you think Gable is the babyface. Yes,
it's so weird.
It's so backwards, and like their assumption is that, you know, like maybe most people aren't watching AAA, but they're trying to.
But they're actively promoting it. Like
exactly. So it doesn't compute. It's completely incongruent, and I think it's resulting in like really awkward reactions from this audience, who at best are confused, at worst just completely apathetic to this Gable character.
Well, I mean, in another presentation, like this is Chad Gable and Pete Dunne having a 10-minute match, which is like amazing when you think about it. And they had like a really nice match, but it's Gable gets the ankle lock, which Rayo breaks. It's a sunset bomb. Rayo lands on the feet, and then there's big belly to belly off the buckle by Gable. And then we get all these distractions. Gable goes for Rayo and Bravo's masks. And Kaiser, that on this show between Dragon Lee, this match, and then the Penta spot with the mask as well. Like this was a heavy mask based edition of Raw. So we get Kaiser headbutting Gable. Rayo hits another headbutt and then hits a diving headbutt off the top. Gable still kicks out of this, runs Rayo into Bravo on the edge, and wins with the Chaos Theory in 10 minutes and 9 seconds.
Yeah, I mean the match is. I think. It's Pete Dunne versus Chad Gable, so you think that, you know, there's going to be a level of just like good technical ability here, which I thought they delivered in, but it didn't have much heat, and this is where I feel like the gimmicks really kind of held back, you know, the quality of the actual wrestling here. I just don't think this original Americano has been well reintroduced, and I don't think he's over at all as a babyface, in my opinion. Again, I think the heel face dynamics are all messed up, and in fact, I feel Gable is a much better heel when he's under the mask, whereas like the Kaiser version, there are just so many like more earned redeeming qualities about him that actually kind of make you respect him and want to cheer him. Here's a guy who like somehow picked up this language and is doing such a better job under this gimmick that you just kind of like want to cheer for him that much more. But they're assuming that American viewers somehow feel the opposite, which I just don't think computes at all.
And on Saturday's AAA, he accuses Chad Gable of using AI Spanish. Mm-hmm. It's great. Like AI is part of their program now.
Yeah, as it should be.
Yes. Kathy Kelly interviewed Natty, who says, "Maxine, I hope you have Netflix in your hospital room. I'm sorry I allowed you to train in the dungeon and make you feel like you were good at this. You're a bimbo pretending to be a killer, and I've outlasted them all, so why don't you go make a TikTok or a video blog? Hearts don't lie, and the truth hurts. You don't belong in my world." And the big success here was she hit the time cue. It didn't get cut off. So that is now how I grade these Netflix only promos. Do you hit the time?
Tough skill.
It is.
Yeah.
Liv and Raquel are backstage, and Liv suggests, why don't you challenge AJ Lee for the IC title? That'll get you to WrestleMania. And Raquel's like, yeah, good idea. Balor walks in, and he's at peace after the loss to CM Punk. Dominic says, well, now can we focus on me? And Balor says, you've got to do this on your own tonight. And Dom says, I want you guys out there to celebrate my win, indicating he will do this on his own, as the man said this with a serious face with his Dude Wipes shirt.
I thought there would have been a chance that we would have had the full-on turn like at Chamber, but I mean, I'm reminded that they have 47 days to go till WrestleMania, yes. So they seem very much on pace, slow birding this until you really get that sort of maybe peak, closer to the match itself, which we're all assuming is going to be Dom and Finn.
Yeah, I think that looks to be the direction here, but we do have a lot of time for Finn to contemplate and have some deep thoughts about what this means.
Yeah.
Rusev comes, he interrupts a highlight package of Oba Femi beating The Miz on SmackDown. He's tired of hearing about Oba and wants to challenge him right now. So Oba comes out and challenges Rusev right there, and they start going at it, and Rusev lands a pair of head kicks. Femi doesn't go down, catches him with a chokeslam, and clotheslines Rusev to the floor. And Cole says, that's got to be embarrassing for Rusev. I was like, no, that's going to be next week when Oba steamrolls this guy. But that will be our match next week. Oba Femi defeating Rusev, and it will be at least a real match for Oba.
I like this far more than what we've seen out of Oba Femi on SmackDown specifically over the past couple weeks, like doing like a prolonged comedy thing with Kit Wilson and then The Miz. I mean, this was fully reliant on, I think, his physicality, and it actually puts that into focus rather than Oba Femi kind of like, being some sort of supporting act to a comedy bit.
Bayley is hanging out with Lyra Valkyria, and they're both like, man, what do we do every week? And they go over their last they lost the Rumble, they lost their qualifiers, they didn't even get into the Chamber. Bayley's like, I feel stuck. It's like, Bayley, the camera's running. Lyra says, I can't stand to see you miss another WrestleMania. Why don't you go challenge Bayley? Why don't you go challenge AJ Lee for the IC title? And Bayley, like, none of this dawned on Bayley. She's like, that's a great idea. And then says, well, Lyra, why don't you come too to go see Adam Pearce? She's like, really? Yeah, let's go. And they go to Adam Pearce's office, which just happens to be, they're right outside. They take 2 steps towards his door. Like, they're just hanging out outside Adam Pearce's office, and this idea comes up. And Io exits Adam Pearce's office, and it turns out all of these women are trying to get the IC title match with AJ. And my God, I mean, this is when, like, those talents will say, you don't question what is given to you, you just try to make the best of whatever is given to you. And that is what these two tried.
I suppose so, yeah. I didn't really have that much issue with that much here. I mean, it was just their way of announcing essentially all the participants of this match coming up. But you make some great points. Yes.
Okay. Jimmy Uso and Austin Theory. Austin Theory, the pressure, starts informing Jimmy of what his nickname is. Jimmy hit a suicide dive, super kicks Austin, and places him on the desk. And Jimmy actually tried to convince us that he was going to dive off the top turnbuckle to this guy on the desk. I'm like, okay, sure. So he gets to the top. Logan appears, so he jumps into the ring on Logan. They double team Jimmy for the DQ in 2.5 minutes. And then the Usos music plays. And this has to be a record for Paul Levesque mystery attack angles, where the guy is back. Wait, he's back 3 days later.
He did have a crutch that he didn't need, clearly.
What miracle did Jay absorb here that Jade Cargill was not aware of? There's a lot easier rehabilitation process than having to miss like 4 months. So Jay's back. He's on crutches and but still fought off Theory and Logan Paul. So we are definitely getting a tag title program with these two. And they laid out Austin with the 1D.
Yeah, if it wasn't obvious enough that like Jey Uso was not at all supposed to have been part of the chamber conversation whatsoever, they didn't even really try here in trying to announce that he had to really
They
work through
didn't
this
even
injury.
wait a week. They
Oh
didn't
my
even wait
God.
till SmackDown to resolve this. So
Yeah,
he's better. It's like Friday basically didn't happen. It's just we've got him back now. But I mean, it did feel like at the end of this, like that Logan Paul and Austin Theory are going to be the attackers in this angle, which does give a reason to do this title program.
yeah, I suppose so.
I just don't think there's any kind of intrigue behind this mystery. Like it felt like this was all sewn up after tonight.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, and it could be something you're not thinking about. You're not
Maybe Jay's
considering
going to
at
tell
all.
us he had a near-death experience last Friday. He's lucky he could have shown up at Raw and gotten involved physically.
Yeah. So it's interesting because if this is going to be the direction for the Usos at Mania, defending the tag titles against Logan and in Theory, well, who's left for Seth Rollins?
I think if these two are tied with the Usos, then the angle is Paul Heyman having to go after Seth with his hired gun of whatever it is, if that is direction. But the way this comes out, like I just watching this program, like it does not like Logan Paul is certainly an option, but it didn't feel like he's the like obstacle for Seth 7 weeks from now. Like I just don't know if that really has the steam behind it, but we will see how this goes out. But I think the Heyman thing will tie it all together. Now, this was, you might have missed this. It was so short. As they're going to break, and they show a modern, like, CM Punk today sitting at the top of the ramp in this Steve Austin shirt and the same, like, outfit from the pipe bomb and says, I've got a lot to get off my chest. And it's cutting back and forth from the image of 2011 in Las Vegas. And I guess the idea here was that you're going to get another pipe bomb from CM Punk tonight.
I didn't catch this.
Dude, you would have mistaken this for a commercial, but it was so short that they showed this. And it was just, they had shot this clearly of CM Punk today, dressed up in the same outfit he had in 2011 on the ramp. And I was like, man, are we going to get another freestyle from CM Punk? I mean, I thought that was the second version of the pipe bomb. But anyway, it seemed like they were really trying to hype like this big Punk promo for later tonight. Pierce gets off the phone with Nick Aldis, and Danhausen pops up, and he states he debuted to thunderous applause and cheers. And he makes a bunch of demands, including a Hall of Fame induction, and he wants his face on all of the trucks. The Judgment Day enter, and Pierce introduces them all, and Danhausen doesn't know JD's name, and they tell him to beat it, and Danhausen puts a curse on Dominic.
Mm-hmm. I think having fun and acknowledging the booze in his way by claiming that there was thunderous applause and cheers is a great way of owning it and you know, like essentially moving on. You've diffused it, so now like
it's like LA Knight on Instagram with the slip. Did you see that?
Oh no! What did Knight say? I haven't been on social
He just
media.
made a crack about it. Like he just said, he was like, "Yeah, it happens, but even when I fall, I land on my feet." And he just like laughed it off, and I'm like, "That's it. Like,
Good for you."
It doesn't have to be a big deal.
But with Danhausen in particular, like almost like kind of like having like a lame, you know, introduction, like a failed introduction, one can even say, it kind of works for the character, and I thought they played it off really well here. And like him, you know, claiming that he wants a Hall of Fame induction as a result of that, I think it worked well. And you know, I love the fact that they don't seem to be changing the character or like putting their hands on the character at all. Like he's kind of keeping everything that's quirky and weird about him, including the teeth. And I think they're putting that like WWE polish in that you're getting like an introduction to him. Like this felt like just a way to give you a sense of the personality and like what the gimmick is. He puts curses on people, he carries teeth, and he's somewhat obnoxious in voice. That might not be enough alone to appeal to people, but I think over time with segments like these and interactions with people like Dom, I think he'll get over to this audience. Certainly.
Just keep this guy away from the Vision. They've got their curse.
Maybe they should. True. Yes, you're right. Mm-hmm.
Jackie Redmond brings out Rhea Ripley to talk about the WrestleMania match, and she is with Io, stating losing the tag title sucked because Io is not just, she was her opponent, she was my tag partner, and she's my best friend. And Thanks, Io, for pulling me out of a dark situation. And Io says, I'll be all right here on Raw. You go win the title at WrestleMania. She says, I'll do it for you, Io. You hold down Raw. Because this Friday, I'm going to see Jade face to face. I was like, this is the most romantic couple in pro wrestling.
They are seriously laying it on so thick, and please, I know like two women can just be friends, of course, but this feels just deliberate, way more deliberate, and so it was so thick here that I almost like, I mean, if you're watching as a wrestling fan, you're sensing a turn coming between these two, but that can't be the case for WrestleMania unless the idea is to put Io into the match somehow, to make it a three-way, but I mean, this just felt like especially, lovey-dovey between these two. So I wonder if they're doing something, or if it might just be a reason for Jade to attack Io to get at Rhea, perhaps.
Hey, Rhea, I've got to tell you a secret, okay? For tonight's direction, okay? If you're gonna, I watched fucking heated rivalries, okay? And there's these two guys, and they fuck. And I think that you and Io, you walk out and fucking, you look into her eyes and you're mesmerized by her beauty and you make everyone want to think that you're more, than fucking, you understand, and then up, fucking, yeah, you got it. Don't tell anybody, okay? The cameraman doesn't know, okay? He doesn't know. So and Io doesn't know either. Okay, Io doesn't know. In fact, I don't even know. I've got to go get a drink.
Amazing. I can't wait for Unreal to come back.
Yeah, I think it's the summer.
Just for your impressions.
That's it. That's all we're... Yeah. Unreal Paul. So next week we have the Gauntlet. Lyra Valkyria, Bailey, Io Sky, Raquel Rodriguez, Asuka, and the obvious winner, Ivy Nile. Winner gets the shot at AJ Lee. And Obafemi against Rusev in Seattle. And I believe next week it's a no Brock, no Roman week, I believe. So Seattle, you get Rusev.
Well, like I imagine, so I'm still thinking Brock and Oba, and we're getting Oba versus Rusev next week.
I think the week after that, Lesnar's back. But it's going to be interesting if they've got to, like, do you sell this Heyman angle and Lesnar's got to continue this, like, on his own for a few weeks or something? Like 2 weeks seems like quick to have Heyman come back from something so serious as this angle.
Well, maybe he's seeing Jey Uso's chiropractor.
I stand corrected. He'll have a crutch. Dominic and Penta for the IC title with Balor and JD at ringside. So Dominic has taken the Edge-O-Matic and created the Mullet-O-Matic. I'm not kidding.
For Uncle Edge.
Uncle Edge. And
who kind of had a mullet at times in his career.
Yeah, I guess he had
as much of a mullet as what this is.
He had like a Southern Ontario mullet. So he charges at Penta. Both end up in the timekeeper's area, and he ties Penta's mask to the bottom rope. Then he starts ripping at the mask of Penta, knowing that this can be very successful on Raw. Hits a 619, and then the frog splash gets caught as Penta hits the sacrifice and a Penta driver, which Dom kicks out of, and this crowd reacts big to the near fall. Dom then leads Penta into the corner, nailing his shoulder into the post, and he calls for the bell hammer. And JD runs to get it. Balor stops JD, stating Dominic wanted to do this on his own, and he won't let JD hand the hammer to Dominic, so Penta takes out both with a dive. Penta ducks a 619, hits the Mexican Destroyer, and defeats Dominic for the IC title in 16 minutes and 25 seconds. Big pop for the finish, and for where they're going with Dominic and Balor, this made all the sense to do this kind of a finish. I really liked it with Balor stopping JD and continuing the cracks in the Judgment Day from this. And this is a good elevation, I think, for Penta to be at least attached to a belt and hopefully have something going into WrestleMania, something, mid-card worthy.
I certainly hope so, yeah. I would have expected, Balor and Dom to go into WrestleMania with the championship, but I don't think it's a feud that needs it, especially if, the breakup of the Judgment Day is the result there. Instead, I really hope Penta goes on like a similar sort of like open challenge-y type of like run. Not to say you have to do an open challenge, but a run where he gets to showcase his abilities in the ring every single week. Like this really is the television championship, right? So certainly I hope he's more active in defending it than Dominik Mysterio was, and I think that really would be a great way to like essentially guarantee Penta that airtime, which I think the audience has been clamoring for a while.
Can you imagine the plight of you become the Intercontinental Champion on Raw, or you're on SmackDown, not even giving us the instructions on how to order the pay-per-view on ESPN. You're one of the observers being told how to order the pay-per-view on ESPN. I mean, man, there's a big distance between.
It pays to be the older brother, I guess.
I guess so, man. I guess so. But quite the contrast. They promote Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes on SmackDown for this Friday night, and the angle that set it up on Saturday. And then the final segment, Roman Reigns comes out first. I think this entrance was about 20 minutes. He comes out, and he goes to speak when CM Punk cuts him off, and out comes Punk, who says, Roman, I hope you're going to do a whole lot more than ask the fans to acknowledge you, because we're not going to waste one of your dates for something that could be a tweet. And Roman, he will never refer to this man as Punk. It is just Phil. And he says it with such disgust every time. He asks Phil if his tweet that he sent out Saturday hurt his feelings.
The tweet was Roman saying Punk looked tired.
And the crowd was tired too.
Right. Yes.
And says that he has thin skin. And Punk says, no, I don't. I don't get upset about tweets or what someone says about me on a podcast. He's like, you're right, Roman. I am tired. And I'm glad I've got these bags under my eyes because for 7 weeks, I've got to carry your bullshit to WrestleMania. He says, this is the building where the Shield debuted, where I brought you to the dance. And Reigns cuts him off saying, you brought the other two, not me. And then, oh my God, it's Chris Hero. And he's just taking out Roman Reigns. What an angle this would have been. Punk says, I've already won because I've got into your head because you admitted you hate me. Reigns says, you're right, I do hate you, Phil. And says, if you didn't have the title, you'd be indifferent to me. I wouldn't think about you. And when we brought you back to entertain the 30 to 40-year-old virgins. A wonderful painting of your upscale audience that you are attracting. He said, we brought you to sell some shirts, maybe draw a house in Chicago, but being a champion is above your pay grade. It's too much responsibility, and you're a liar about being happy and being a team leader, but then you bitch and moan backstage, and they're so quick to come tell me every time, you're not CM Punk. You're a punk-ass bitch to me. And he says, once I'm done with you, I'm going to put you on one of those Cena retirement tours, and we're going to squeeze all the money we can out of you. Then we're going to send you to NXT to teach the next generation, and then you can send them up, and I'm going to smash all of them. It's quite the long-term. He had more of a long-term booking idea than Paul did for Cena last year. I wish they tapped into this guy. This guy has a whole 15 years plotted out in his head in this promo. Could have used this instead of a moment. Got to create a moment because the house is a little soft in Toronto. So Punk stops him from Roman just drops all this shit on him, and then he's about to leave. Like, I'm done. Punk's like, whoa, I need a comeback here. He says, who is we? I don't see anyone by you anymore. It's you alone in your bus, you alone in your room. I took Paul Heyman away from you, and says, you have always been chasing me. Well, I run things here on Netflix, all right? I told Ted to back out of this bid. It's too rich for our blood, Ted. $83 billion? We've got shareholders to think about. He says, you can hate me, but you won't disrespect me. And then, I swear to God, he said, you're going to retire me? You just made the list.
He did.
He said this. And
he said it without real, like it's
he
a
went
common
so
thing, of
quickly.
course.
It felt like he said it and he realized what he said, because there was like a slimmer of like a reaction from the crowd, but it was just too fast to even pay attention to it. But I think he knew exactly what he said when he said it. But he says, now at WrestleMania, I'm going to bury you. And then you're not going to be alone, because when I bury you, I'm going to bury you next to your father. I was like, Jesus Christ, we just went there, didn't we? So, yes, this will be CM Punk taking on Roman Reigns in the spirit of Sika at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Sika and destroy. That's our tagline.
Oh, very nice.
Punk also had quite the shiner here from the Finn match.
It looks like it. I think in these promos, like, they've set a tone for like trying to, dance between reality and fiction, and I think they're balancing that relatively well. Punk.
They didn't go into any of the we're the A show and like some of the stuff that really to me was kind of counterproductive for the last one, but that was a really effective promo segment overall.
The fact that they haven't really continued with any of that beyond week one, like, maybe tells you that that was just maybe poorly thought out, and maybe just happened to confuse people when maybe that was never the intent. To try to tell.
I think it was very clear about that. Like here in this promo, like they did not like even the term bury him. It's like nothing here was like we're gonna be so cute and talk about like inside stuff that some of these promos they can just veer towards and they go against the actual story, and I didn't feel there
was some inside stuff here, like for instance referencing Punk not choosing Reigns as part of the Shield, which was detailed in the Cole Cabana podcast,
right? But nothing I mean that is like breaking the foundation of like this being
it's true, although I guess in kayfabe, how did Roman get there? Who did
right.
Who did choose Roman for the Shield then, if not Punk?
Right. So it's like the company inserted Roman Reigns into there. Well,
the company picked the members of the Shield. What this sort of like renegade group that CM Punk hired? Like that doesn't. But whatever. Who cares? Like it's one of those things where like if you think about it too hard, it kind of defeats the purpose. But it doesn't completely break.
Yeah, I don't think that line's a big deal at all.
You also had Roman, saying they brought Punk in to appeal to a demo and draw the house. And of course, this draws reference back to what he said in their first interaction where they had to okay CM Punk coming in. Even that, I feel like I can buy in a kayfabe sense, in the way that like a boxing champion may have some sway in who is on the undercard, right? So that all's well and good. I think they're straddling the line.
Roman, while you were at home milking up all your vacation dates, I was fighting Big Data plus Panel.
Oh my. But I will say,
you come back after the Dash study.
that would be next level.
That would be better served for USA Network, I guess. Drew and Cody can adopt that one.
That's right. I will say though, the final line, which is like the line everybody will be talking about coming out of the promo, I understand the need to get this like really big heat line, okay? Really getting personal, and I think it'll pay off in that. I mean, you're already getting Reigns probably more offended that anybody has ever offended him, during this tribal chief character. But I will say it did feel relatively out of place for CM Punk's character to say something like that. Because you're supposed to, I think, feel like
it's a total asshole line, to the degree that like for the Roman character too, to just stand there and take this one. Like this guy,
well, he's not going to stand there. He's not going to take it for much longer. Like he's there in shock, basically, that somebody would disrespect him this way. So,
the story is though that Punk is trying to get under this guy's skin so that he does crack. Like that was outlined in the promo. Like when you said you hated me, I've already got you. So like that's part of this, is that this guy is just trying to make this guy break.
That is very fair.
You're going to that direction here by going for such a low hanging fruit type of line at the end here. And I think that's sort of what he's drawing him into. And I think like in the lead up, like again, we're 7 weeks out. I think they will go to that place where Roman does like get physical, and by the end of it, like he gets in Punk's head. Like there's a lot of ways you can go toward this that doesn't fully rely on referencing a podcast from 12 years ago.
No, because Roman can talk about Punk's dog.
Oh, Jesus way. Yeah.
What? That's worse than Stika?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Well, it's the WrestleMania main event. It's all references are fair game, I guess. How did you feel that this segment went? I didn't think this one was as effective as the one they did a couple of weeks back. But I guess it was the big segment on Raw, and this does feel like a big match for WrestleMania.
Not as strong as the first week, but I think still incredibly productive in just like making you like want to see this match. I think they successfully elevated tensions between the two, and this certainly feels like it's one of the big sort of like bright spots of this year's WrestleMania, when I guess it's largely a card that we still don't really know, including like the other end of the equation on SmackDown, which we'll find out maybe this Friday.
I think we'll know it after Friday. I think I think you want to have like by this time next week, I think you want to know at least all 4 of like your women's and men's like main title matches, and
we know
3
of them.
We know 3, and I think Friday we'll settle the 4th. So, I mean, a strong segment to end the show with Punk and Reigns, and man, that Gunther Dragon Lee match, I would highly recommend that. I'd also from AAA Saturday, Dragon Lee also had this match with Jack Cartwheel that was awesome. One of the better matches AAA has had since it started on Fox as well. So 2 big matches for Dragon Lee.
I think Rollins is receiving great reactions upon this return. And
the Heyman angle was a big thing on the show too.
Like that whole thing feels like it's headed towards something pretty hot with whatever Rollins WrestleMania destination is. So I think all of that is in relatively good shape. I even think like Danhausen was like, I think had a good I want to say proper first segment here, and we got the Penta title win, of course.
Yes. Danhausen is Adam Pearce's assistant. Maybe that's the direction.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. Well, we're going to sign off here on the free channel for the YouTube listeners. Again, we have the whole menu for March available for those that want to join postwrestlingcafe.com. And that includes our review of Insurrection 2002 that is coming up this Thursday, where we are going to be reviewing the UK only pay-per-view from May 2002, the last event promoted under the letters WWF before they flipped to WWE on the following Monday's Raw as well. So,
significant for many reasons. Like for me, maybe just of interest to like dive into like a Raw branded show very shortly after the first brand extension.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, we will compare the SmackDown house show that ran that same day, and you can tell me, Wai, which show you would have preferred to attend.
Okay.
So
all right.
That's coming up this coming Thursday. And then, of course, all of our regular shows as well. The Poison Rana crew, they will be up Tuesday night after NXT. And
then Sunday for Vengeance Day.
That's right. They're back for Sunday for Vengeance Day. And they're going back to the Well as well for 2 nights of WrestleMania, they have announced. So if you are in Toronto...
Wow.
The only place to be WrestleMania weekend in Toronto is at the Well, downtown Toronto, poisonrana.ca.
Those are going to be packed very soon. I mean, for WrestleMania. So, yep. Poisonrana.ca.
I think they've sold out every time they've done these things. So I think it'll be no different for Mania weekend, which is I
don't think we can get in if we wanted to.
No, I was already told I'd be turned away at the door. Brandon said that very clear, regardless of the amount that turned out for it. But yes, you can catch all of that and postwrestling.com for all the latest that is going on. So goodbye to everybody on the YouTube channel.